The mystery of the ancient handbag symbol doesn't just transcend time and geography, it also remains surrounded by unanswered questions. This strange and fascinating symbol keeps appearing in ancient carvings from civilizations that were far apart in both time and space. It looks strikingly similar to modern handbags, yet its real meaning and purpose are still unknown. Some people believe that this strange phenomenon could be explained by the ancient astronaut theory, the idea that visitors from other worlds gave early civilizations access to futuristic inventions and advanced engineering. Skeptics, on the other hand, look for more rational explanations for why handbag-like carvings show up in ancient art around the world. The handbag symbol is usually T-shaped with a central handle. It gained significant attention in the 19th and 20th centuries when archaeologists started discovering it at multiple ancient sites. The oldest known depiction comes from Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, dating back over 11,000 years. The symbol was carved into stone pillars that still spark curiosity and wonder. In the ruins of ancient Mesopotamia, especially in Assyrian and Sumerian civilizations, the handbag symbol is very common. It's often shown in the hands of gods and kings, suggesting it might have represented power or divine knowledge. Across the Atlantic, similar symbols were found in ancient Central American civilizations. There, too, the handbags were usually held by high-ranking individuals, just like in the Middle East. Even in New Zealand, which was geographically isolated for centuries, cultural artifacts from the 13th century also display this handbag symbol in their carvings. This makes the symbol's widespread appearance even more mysterious. Historians and researchers have offered several theories to explain the wide distribution of this motif. One popular idea is that the handbag symbol represents a container of sacred knowledge or a cosmic symbol for the transfer of divine wisdom from the gods to humans. This theory is supported by how often the symbol is shown with divine figures or in religious ceremonies. Another, more down-to-earth theory suggests the handbag might simply represent a tool or a container used for carrying things like medicine or personal belongings. But this explanation struggles to account for the symbol's importance and its consistent appearance across very different cultures. A more mysterious theory proposes that all these cultures might have stemmed from a shared ancient global civilization, or were influenced by a now lost advanced society. Supporters of this theory argue that the handbag's uncanny similarity across distant cultures points to a universal symbol that has been forgotten over time. The artists who once carved these symbols in stone are long gone. Still, clues to the handbag mystery might remain in the massive structures they left behind, monuments built from huge stones by ancient hands. These megalithic sites, like Stonehenge, show early examples of large-scale construction that remain unexplained. Many of these ancient stone monuments bear a striking resemblance to one another, even though they're found on different continents and were built by entirely separate cultures. These similarities have puzzled historians for centuries. The most famous is Stonehenge in England, which dates back to around 3000 BC. This prehistoric monument, made of massive upright stones weighing about 25 tons each, has become a symbol of ancient engineering. Similarly, in France, the Carnac stones, a dense collection of over 3,000 standing stones, date back to around 4500 BC. In Malta, the massive temples built around 3600 BC are some of the oldest freestanding structures on Earth. In Africa, the Nabta Playa site in southern Egypt dates to the 5th millennium BC. It includes massive structures believed to be among the world's earliest astronomical devices. In Asia, the mysterious plain of jars in Laos dates to the Iron Age and continues to baffle archaeologists. Likewise, megalithic structures in southern India, like dolmens and menhirs, date back to around 1000 BC. Despite being separated by oceans and continents, these ancient builders might have shared basic principles of architecture and cultural beliefs. One fascinating common trait is how these structures are aligned with celestial bodies, from Stonehenge's alignment with the summer solstice to Malta's temples aligned with the equinox. These alignments suggest that ancient people had a deep understanding of astronomy, likely used for farming, religious purposes, or timekeeping. Another shared feature is their use of massive stones, which may reflect a universal respect for permanence and legacy. The power of stone, especially its incredible ability to move and manipulate huge rocks using prehistoric technology, has always amazed researchers. What's more, many of these ancient monuments share similar structural designs: stone circles, upright stones, and dolmens, or stone tombs. This similarity might suggest that ancient civilizations either shared architectural ideas or developed them in parallel. One particularly fascinating theory about these massive stone structures is the single origin theory, at least for the megaliths of Europe. According to this idea, the practice of building megalithic monuments started in northwestern France and then spread across the continent. Supporting this, a large 2019 study analyzed radiocarbon dates from over 2,000 megalithic sites across Europe. The results showed a pattern that seemed to originate from Brittany, France, spreading along the coastlines. This points to seaborne cultural exchange around 4500 BCE. If true, it challenges the long-held belief that these sites were developed independently in isolated regions, and instead suggests there was significant cultural connection and communication between prehistoric European societies that had been underestimated. In the night sky, the constellation Orion stands like an eternal guardian, a celestial marker that's fascinated humans for thousands of years. Across the ancient world, huge temples, pyramids, and structures from very different cultures seem to mirror the stars of Orion, especially its iconic belt of 3 stars. This curious alignment raises deep questions about what ancient people knew and why they built such monuments to reflect the heavens. The Orion correlation theory, introduced by researcher Robert Bovell in the 1980s, claims that the layout of the 3 main pyramids of Giza in Egypt perfectly aligns with the 3 stars in Orion's belt. According to this theory, the pyramids were actually built around 10,500 BCE, which is about 8,000 years earlier than mainstream historians believe. This would have been the time when Orion's belt was at its lowest point in the sky during the spring equinox. While the dating is highly debated, it's well known that the ancient Egyptians were skilled astronomers with a deep interest in the night sky. To the Egyptians, Orion held a sacred place in their beliefs, especially in relation to the afterlife and rebirth. They associated the constellation with Osiris, the god of the underworld, resurrection, and renewal. The connection wasn't just symbolic, it was at the heart of their spiritual system. They believed that when a pharaoh died, he would become a star in Orion and join Osiris in the celestial realm. Amazingly, a site in Mexico called Teotihuacan shows a striking resemblance to Giza. It's home to the Pyramid of the Sun, the largest pyramid in the area, which reportedly took over 100 years to build, along with 2 smaller pyramids nearby. The layout of Teotihuacan closely resembles Orion's belt, despite being on the other side of the world from Egypt. Even more impressive, the alignment goes beyond direction. The sizes and positions of the pyramids seem to reflect the relative positions and brightness of Orion's stars. Built between the 1st and 7th centuries CE, Teotihuacan's design suggests a surprisingly advanced shared understanding of astronomy, even though these cultures were separated by vast distances and time periods. In China, the lesser-known pyramids of Xi'an in Shanxi province add another fascinating layer. These ancient pyramid-like structures are also thought to mirror Orion's belt in their positioning, almost perfectly aligned like the stars Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. Some dismiss this as coincidence or say it's just human nature to see patterns where none exist. Others use the Orion alignment theory to support bold ideas about ancient aliens or lost advanced civilizations. The truth? We may never know for sure if there's a real connection between these distant pyramid-building cultures, but the similarities are certainly thought-provoking. Skull shaping, an ancient global practice. Another strange yet fascinating global phenomenon is artificial cranial deformation, the intentional reshaping of a child's skull. This practice was independently adopted by many cultures across the world. It was surprisingly common for people to reshape the skull during early childhood, usually starting at about 1 month old, while the bones were still soft and moldable. The process would continue for several months using techniques like wrapping the head tightly or even shaping it by hand. Cultural ideas about beauty or status often influenced the desired skull shape. Some cultures preferred flat heads, which they achieved by binding the head between two wooden boards. Others preferred elongated skulls, shaped by pressure or wrapping techniques. Whatever the style, this practice dramatically altered normal skull growth, and offers yet another example of how deeply symbolic and at times mysterious human culture has been across time and continents. Skull shaping, a global ancient practice. Some cultures shape the head into rounded, elongated, or even cone-like forms, using different methods to get these effects. The earliest known examples date back around 45,000 years, found among early Homo sapiens in the Neolithic period and the Andal people in Western Asia. But this practice peaked between 3000 BCE and 2000 CE, especially in ancient Egypt. One mysterious example is the elongated skull of Pharaoh Akhenaten, which has sparked all kinds of theories, including some suggesting extraterrestrial influence. The Paracas culture in ancient Peru is particularly famous for its extreme examples of elongated skulls, which are among the most dramatic ever found. In Europe, tribes like the Huns, Alans, and Hannic peoples also practiced skull shaping during the migration period. The Huns, under the infamous Attila, were often portrayed with elongated heads, seen as a symbol of nobility or distinction. This custom was also present among Native American tribes like the Choctaw, and in Africa, among the Mangbetu people. The reasons varied. Some used it to mark social class, set apart tribal identity, or symbolize status. Others believed it enhanced intelligence or brought people closer to the divine. There are also more fringe theories, especially about the extreme examples from the Paracas culture. Some speculate that ancient people were trying to mimic extraterrestrials with elongated heads, an idea fueled by old texts and artwork showing beings with long skulls. Others suggest that skull shaping was meant to boost psychic abilities or served as part of complex spiritual beliefs. Modern science has shed some light on the practice. Studies show that while reshaping the skull can alter its appearance significantly, it doesn't have much impact on brain function. However, it can carry health risks, such as increased pressure on the brain or facial deformities. Today, this practice has largely died out and is often seen as barbaric by modern standards. Still, its legacy survives in the skulls uncovered by archaeologists, the art and mythology of ancient cultures, and in our ongoing fascination with altering the human body. The Great Flood Myth across cultures. Myths and legends are full of epic flood stories, torrents of rain that wiped out entire ages. What's truly remarkable is how often these flood tales pop up in ancient texts and artwork across cultures, religions, and continents. One of the oldest and most famous versions is in the Epic of Gilgamesh, an ancient Mesopotamian poem. In this story, the gods decide to flood the earth. A man named Utnapishtim is warned by the god Enki and builds a boat to save himself, his family, and pairs of animals. After the flood subsides, he sends out a dove, a swallow, and a raven to find dry land. The parallels to the biblical story of Noah's Ark are striking. In the book of Genesis, God sees the wickedness of humanity and decides to flood the world. He instructs Noah, the one righteous man, to build a large ark and save his family along with 2 of every kind of animal. The similarities between this and the story in Gilgamesh have intrigued scholars for a long time, suggesting either cultural exchange or a shared source of inspiration. In Hindu mythology, there's the story of Manu, the first man, the Hindu equivalent of Noah. He saves a small fish who turns out to be the god Vishnu in disguise. Vishnu warns Manu about an upcoming flood and tells him to build a boat. Manu survives the flood with 7 sages and seeds of life to help restart creation. In Chinese mythology, the hero Yu the Great is known for controlling a massive flood, which earned him legendary status. Unlike other flood stories focused on destruction, the Chinese version highlights human effort in flood management, a unique cultural take on natural disasters. Many Native American cultures also have flood myths. For example, the Hopi people tell of a great flood that destroyed the Third World, forcing survivors to seek shelter in the mountains or underground. Similarly, the Inca civilization had a flood myth in which the god Viracocha destroys humanity with a flood and later recreates people from stone. The idea of global flood myths has led some scientists to suggest they may reflect real historical events, possibly dating back to the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 BCE, when melting glaciers cause sea levels to rise dramatically. Others think these myths reflect a collective human understanding of water as both a life-giving and a destructive force. Fringe theorists even believe that these floods were real disasters that wiped out advanced ancient civilizations like Atlantis, and that these stories are remnants of real historical memory. In that view, these lost civilizations might have had advanced technology that disappeared in the flood. Whatever the truth may be, the theme of a spiritual survivor or a chosen group tasked with rebuilding the world continues to resonate deeply. It reflects our very human instincts for survival, renewal, and the hope of starting over. Are you ready to uncover the secrets of the past? Join us and subscribe to the channel for more mysteries.